I know. There's a lot of us that are thinking, how on earth could anyone think she's guilty, right? The prosecution did not prove beyond reasonable doubt that John O'Keefe was hit by a vehicle. She couldn't have killed him if the vehicle never struck John. The vehicle doesn't show it. The body doesn't show it. We're all sitting here saying, like, how is this still a thing? How is this still a case? But today is the day I become a tiny bit of a Debbie Downer, because let's be very honest, juries have convicted for less. They have. There's plenty of people sitting in jail with less evidence against them, far more circumstantial cases than this, and people are spending their lifetime in prison because the jury just can't see their way through it. Now, this time around, we might be lucky because it's a younger jury. And I think people who've been raised on the internet know that there's so many facts and so many details. And so I think they care more about the DNA and the proof and the evidence and the data than they do, you know, oh, well, he was walking down that street and somebody died that night, so it must have been him. Like, they care more about the data than they do the circumstantial pieces. But you just never, ever know which way a jury's going to go. There is no DNA, like there's no DNA evidence anywhere on the car. The medical examiner says there was no point of contact, that there couldn't possibly be a car strike that happened to that body. The injuries aren't consistent with a car strike. Their timeline is really messed up because, well, they've changed it, I think now 4 or 5 times, but they're also saying, and every time you still have something that comes up that shows the guy was dead, but yet the guy was getting up and walking around and shutting off his phone. And they've now said that flights of stairs are now going wee in the car up and down hills where there are no hills. Like the timeline isn't even close to working in their favor. Never mind the abundant evidence that there was a corrupt investigation, that the lead investigator was friends with some other people involved and didn't do the investigation the way it should have been done. And again, those things matter to you and me. If we were sitting on the jury, we would have those questions. But sometimes juries want to go purely circumstantial. There's a whole group of people who come into my comment section and say she's guilty. And the argument is, well, you know, she was mad and they argued and she was drunk. And there's 13 other people that said John never came in the house. She said, did I hit him? They're like, well, why would she think that? She must be guilty. She must be guilty. In one of my video series, I went back and looked at all of the evidence in a prior trial from a long time ago. The guy is sitting in jail for the rest of his life. But in that case, there was never any murder weapon found. There was no cause of death ever stated. There was no manner of death ever stated because at the time of his arrest, there was no body. This was just basically a missing person. For all we know, his wife could have just pieced out and went off the grid. There was no body. There was no crime scene. So the police were never able to tell anybody. The police were never able to testify where a murder took place, when a murder took place, how a murder took place, or why a murder took place. There was no DNA, and I mean no blood, no skin cells, no fingerprints, no footprints, no sweat, no urine, no nothing found at any of the places where they claimed the victim would have been. And there were no defensive wounds on the defendant, as if like there was a fight, like someone fighting for their life. And in all my videos, I said, you know, he probably did kill her because I can't find anybody else who did it. And I don't know anybody else who would have a reason to. But the point is that this was not proven beyond a reasonable doubt. He probably went to jail because the jury thought he was a shitty person. And he was. He was lying and cheating on his pregnant wife. He was doing all kinds of deceptive, devious shit. He went fishing on Christmas Eve. That was his alibi, but it also ended up being his ruin. That case had zero physical evidence. None. Go back and watch my 40 freaking videos on it. Zero physical evidence. And he went to jail for the rest of his life. I don't want to be a doomsdayer, but I think this is the exact reason why Jackson, Alessi, and Yannetti are going to get up there. And they are going to have to put on the best fucking defense we've seen in a decade. because they need to resoundingly prove that she didn't do this. They can't leave it open to any speculation. They can't expect the jury to connect the dots. This is going to have to be a slam dunk defense because you just never know what the jury could do. Sorry to say, I don't have a lot of faith in our jury system because sometimes a lot of the people who you would want defending you are the people who managed to get out of jury duty. We know the jury in the first trial voted not guilty on the murder charge. So let's hope that this jury is also that smart. The manslaughter one was the one they got hung up last time. And I think the way it's worded, I think that's why they got hung up on the manslaughter charge, was because the wording is really bad. But again, if you can't prove that the car hit the person, then Karen can't really be responsible for the death. The whole reason for making this video was not to frighten anybody. You just never know what they're hearing and what they're thinking. So here comes the defense, and it's got to be a real good one.